Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started. Roman Reigns is considered one of the top stars in pro wrestling today. Reigns' record-setting world title reign that lasted 1,316 days etched his name into the history books and established his legacy. 2021 to 2023 was ruled by the original tribal chief, witnessing the rise and dominance of the Roman Empire. Reigns put on incredible wrestling matches, elevated other members of the bloodline, Sami Zayn included, and produced cinematic storylines. However, 2024 was not that kind to the OTC. Owing to the following 4 reasons, Roman Reigns may be WWE's biggest flop in the last 12 months. 4. Roman Reigns' last successful title defense wasn't great. Roman Reigns' last successful title defense came at Royal Rumble 2024, where he defeated LA Knight, Randy Orton, and AJ Styles. While the match was far from bad, it didn't set the world on fire and wasn't among Reigns' best outings in the squared circle. Among the 4 competitors, Reigns was the least protected, as Knight, Orton, and Styles hit big moves on the OTC. Solo Sikoa's interference was expected and felt unnecessary, as it proved indecisive. Furthermore, Reigns failed to live up to his promise of stacking and pinning all 3 men. WWE could have booked a train wreck and reaffirmed Reigns' dominance heading into WrestleMania XL. Considering the talent on display and the significance of the match being the OTC's final title defense, the fatal 4-way at the Rumble was underwhelming. 3. Reigns was overshadowed by The Rock during the road to WrestleMania XL. The road to WrestleMania XL gave fans little reason to complain as it was packed with star power and top-tier storytelling. The Rock's heel turn and transformation into the final boss elevated Cody Rhodes' storyline with the Bloodline, but it took the spotlight away from Roman Reigns. The initial story was about Rhodes trying to finish his story by dethroning Reigns. However, his brewing angle with the final boss took precedence as most of the segments revolved around Rocky's beef with the American Nightmare. The lack of physicality didn't help as Reigns relied on Sikoa and The Rock, the infamous beatdown in the parking lot. Fortunately, the story had already been built with Rhodes' loss to the tribal chief at WrestleMania 39. 2. The OG Bloodline reunion was rushed after the fall of his empire at WrestleMania XL. Roman Reigns returned as a babyface to attack Solo Sikoa, who had taken over as tribal chief and made adjustments to the Bloodline. Since Sikoa had taken out Jimmy Uso and Paul Heyman, Reigns had to fight the new Bloodline alone, often suffering beatdowns due to the numbers game disadvantage. However, the tide shifted when Big Jim returned at Bad Blood. Jimmy was a valuable ally to Reigns, but they were outnumbered 4-2 by the new Bloodline. Main event Jey Uso and Sami Zayn, estranged members of the OG Bloodline, had differences with the OTC, who had manipulated and bullied them during the peak of his title run. Considering his brother's betrayal and subsequent antics, Jey was rather quick to forgive Big Jim and reunite the Usos. The former IC champion laid down his conditions for a reunion, but his inclusion was rushed as WWE had to prepare for Survivor Series. Sami Zayn's inclusion was also expected, but again it was rushed. However, Zayn didn't have reason to betray Sikoa. His motivations for reuniting with Reigns were ambiguous, especially after the OTC refused to apologize to Jey. With less than 2 months between Bad Blood and Survivor Series, War Games, there was never enough time to build tension and then lay the foundation for a reunion. Hence, the storytelling elements were compromised in this scenario. 1. Roman Reigns' only singles match in 2024 was marred by interference. The main event of WrestleMania XL. Night 2 holds a special place in fans' hearts for the closing sequence featured WWE's Endgame moment and Cody Rhodes finishing his story in an emotional finale. John Cena, The Undertaker, The Rock, The Usos, Solo Sikoa, and Seth Rollins in Shield gear were involved in an epic finale that fans will remember for a long time. The overbooking enhanced the entertainment value, but it undermined the in-ring action between Reigns and Rhodes. In hindsight, this was the OTC's only singles bout of 2024. The loss and overbooking which overshadowed him undermined his performance. Roman Reigns, the tribal chief and cornerstone of WWE programming for years, entered 2024 as the undisputed face of the company. Having dominated SmackDown and captivated audiences with the Bloodline storyline, expectations for his trajectory this year were sky-high. However, as the year unfolded, cracks in the seemingly impenetrable armor of Roman Reigns began to show. By the end of 2024, many fans and critics had labeled him WWE's biggest flop of the year. Here's a look at the 4 key reasons why. 1. Stale storylines and overexposure. Roman Reigns' long reign as Universal Champion had initially been celebrated as a masterstroke of storytelling, but by 2024, it became increasingly clear that his character arc had stagnated. The Bloodline saga, which had been lauded as one of WWE's most intricate and engaging narratives, started to feel repetitive. Instead of evolving the storyline or introducing fresh conflicts, WWE relied on the same formula: Roman manipulating his family members, demanding loyalty, and asserting his dominance. While this worked brilliantly in the early stages of his run, fans grew tired of the rinse-and-repeat format. Matches with JUSO, Solo Sikoa, and even surprise challengers like Jacob Fatu felt like rehashed versions of conflicts we'd seen before. Moreover, Roman's limited schedule further alienated fans. His sporadic appearances were initially positioned as a way to make him feel like a true special attraction, but in 2024, they only exacerbated the sense of monotony. Without weekly character development, his presence on premium live events felt hollow, and audiences started to lose interest. 2. Lackluster feuds and predictable outcomes. A champion is only as good as the challengers they face, and in 2024, Roman Reigns' feuds lacked the intensity and intrigue needed to keep fans invested. WWE had opportunities to elevate new stars by positioning them as credible threats to the tribal chief, but they repeatedly fell short. Take, for example, his highly anticipated feud with Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40. Many expected Cody to finish the story and dethrone Reigns, but WWE chose to have Roman retain the title yet again. The decision was met with widespread backlash, as fans felt the company was prioritizing Roman's record-breaking reign over creating compelling narratives. Subsequent rivalries with Shinsuke Nakamura and LA Knight also failed to generate excitement. In each case, the outcomes were telegraphed from miles away, as few believed WWE would actually pull the trigger on a new champion. This predictability stripped Roman's matches of any real drama, turning them into formulaic affairs that left audiences disengaged. 3. The decline of the Bloodline. The Bloodline had been one of WWE's most successful factions in modern history, but by 2024, its aura had significantly diminished. Key moments, such as the implosion of the group and the betrayal of Roman by JUSO, should have been landmark events. Instead, they were dragged out for far too long, with uneven pacing that diluted their impact. Solo Sikoa, initially positioned as Roman's loyal enforcer, started to feel like an afterthought. His inevitable rebellion against Roman was teased for months but never delivered in a satisfying way. Similarly, the absence of Jimmy Uso for much of the year further weakened the faction's dynamic. When WWE introduced new members to reinvigorate the Bloodline, such as NXT standout Ava Raine, The Rock's daughter, the results were underwhelming. Fans didn't buy into the new iterations of the faction, and it became clear that the magic of the Bloodline had been tied to the original group. Without the cohesive storytelling and chemistry that had made it special, the Bloodline became a shadow of its former self, dragging Roman's appeal down with it. 4. Failure to transition or reinvent. One of the most significant reasons Roman Reigns flopped in 2024 was his failure to transition or reinvent his character. Wrestling history is filled with examples of top stars evolving to stay relevant. The Rock's transformation from corporate sellout to people's champion, or John Cena's shift to a never-give-up mantra, are just 2 examples. Roman, however, remained stagnant. Despite the growing criticism, WWE doubled down on the tribal chief persona without making meaningful changes. Roman's promos, while initially compelling, began to feel repetitive. His reliance on phrases like "acknowledge me" lost their impact, as they were no longer backed by fresh storylines or emotional stakes. Furthermore, Roman's in-ring performances, while still solid, lacked the innovation and excitement fans expected from someone of his stature. Matches that should have been barn-burners, such as his SummerSlam showdown with Seth Rollins, ended up feeling like paint-by-numbers affairs. Without adapting his style or adding new elements to his character, Roman became a victim of his own success, unable to live up to the lofty expectations he had set in previous years. Conclusion: a fall from grace. Roman Reigns' status as WWE's biggest flop of 2024 is not a reflection of his talent or past accomplishments, but rather a culmination of missteps in booking, storytelling, and character development. His dominance in previous years had raised the bar so high that when the cracks began to show, they were impossible to ignore. WWE now faces the daunting task of rebuilding Roman's character and restoring his credibility. Whether that involves a complete reinvention, a shocking loss to a rising star, or even a temporary absence to allow fans to miss him, one thing is clear: the Tribal Chief needs to evolve to reclaim his place at the top. As 2024 ends, fans are left wondering if Roman Reigns can bounce back in 2025, or if this year will mark the beginning of the end for one of WWE's most iconic runs.